The Lady Ashbourne Chronicles. Episode 9, in which I commission furniture and question my sanity. Previously, on the Lady Ashbourne Chronicles, Lady Margot discovered that earls make terrible pillows for blueprints, workmen respect competence over titles, and some mirror moments are more dangerous than crumbling foundations. Now, what happens when an earl decides to solve problems before they become problems?
I had been pacing my study for the better part of an hour, wearing a groove in the Aubusson carpet that would undoubtedly require explanation to future generations of Fairfaxes. Brandy. Well, you see, great-great-grandfather lost his mind over a woman who tried to marry him off to a taxidermy duchess. The brandy decanter on my desk caught the afternoon light, and I'd lost count, somewhere between replaying Margot's breakfast performance and contemplating whether throwing myself from the East Tower would be less painful than this exquisite torture. She'd moved herself to the steward's quarters that afternoon, that freezing damp corner of the house where no civilized person should be expected to sleep, where she would shiver through the night because she was too proud or too frightened to stay where she belonged.
My lord?
I needed to ride to the village, find Carpenter Morrison, tell him I have an urgent commission, something that needs to be completed within the week.
What sort of commission, my lord?
A pavilion. Garden structure, nothing too elaborate, but something worthy of a woman who argues about load-bearing walls.
I see, my lord.
I'll need to provide specifications. And Hodgkins, you'll also need to visit Pemberton's furniture workshop. I'll need a desk commission, something specific. As I sketched rough dimensions and scribbled notes about sightlines and seasonal considerations, part of me recognized the absolute lunacy of what I was doing. Commissioning an entire garden structure because a woman had moved herself to inferior quarters was not the behavior of a rational man. It was the behavior of a man completely, utterly besotted. 3 days later, I stood in my study window, watching the final preparations in the south garden with the kind of nervous energy usually reserved for men about to propose marriage or face firing squads. The pavilion was perfect. Better than perfect. Morrison had outdone himself, creating something that managed to be both elegant and practical, like the woman it was intended for.
My lord, there's been a delivery in the south garden.
A delivery? For what room?
It's not for a room, exactly. It appears to be a structure.
And there it was. Not a package, not a delivery. An entire architectural event centered on the level clearing near the rose garden. A pavilion. An absolutely devastatingly beautiful pavilion. Slender columns supported a domed roof of pale, intricately carved wood that caught the morning light like something from a fairy tale. But it was what stood atop those steps that stopped my breath mid-inhale. My chair, the wing-backed monstrosity I'd defended from Florinda's dramatic fainting spells, Drusilla's experimental herbal poultices, and Ella's constant attempts to improve it with ribbons. Except it wasn't quite the same chair. This version had been lovingly restored, reupholstered in a deep emerald fabric that matched, exactly, perfectly matched, the gown I'd worn the night of the midwinter masquerade. And beside it, gleaming in the spring sunshine like something conjured from my deepest, most secret wishes, stood a writing desk. Not just any desk, a piece clearly designed for a specific purpose, with angled surfaces for drafting, slim drawers perfectly sized for rolled architectural plans. I found a note that read, "For her plans, her notes, and her perfectly sharp pencils." Is this a bribe?
A gift.
For what?
You're improving the place. I thought you deserved somewhere better to plan your conquests.
Conquests?
Design ones. Renovation. Wallpaper. Throw pillows. I don't know what you people do.
This is absurd.
A bit.
And wildly inappropriate. Garden follies are the province of romantic novels and silly women with too much time and too little sense.
Some might say so, yes.
And far too thoughtful.
Do you hate it?
I loathe how much I don't. The workmanship is excellent, though I question the wisdom of placing it so near the rose garden. The thorns will be hazardous once they bloom fully.
I'll have them trimmed back. Or relocated, if you prefer.
That won't be necessary. The scent will be pleasant in summer.
So you'll use it?
It would be wasteful not to.
Excellent. Well, I should let you return to your assessment of those hideous purple panels.
The panels. They're an abomination against God and good taste.
Agreed. I believe my grandfather installed them after losing a wager to a duchess with questionable aesthetic judgment.
That explains much about this house.
Lady Ashbourne,
Yes?
you should know, the chair was Hodgkin's idea. He thought you might appreciate something familiar.
Please thank him for me. It was thoughtful. I remained in the pavilion long after he'd gone, running my fingers along the brass plaque, allowing myself to acknowledge just for a moment the strange, terrifying ache beneath my ribs. Someone had built me a place to work. Not a decoration or a showpiece, but a functional, beautiful space designed around who I actually was, rather than who society expected me to be. But when I attempted to write, all that came out was, for her plans, her notes, and her perfectly sharp pencils. Ridiculous. Completely ridiculous. But I didn't leave. I sat in my perfectly fitted chair at my perfectly designed desk in my perfectly situated pavilion, and I tried very hard not to think about what it meant that someone had noticed how I took my tea, remembered the colour of a dress I'd worn once, and cared enough to create something beautiful just for me. I failed spectacularly.
And so Lady Ashbourne discovers that some gifts are too perfect to refuse, too thoughtful to dismiss, and too dangerous to fully appreciate. What does one do with a pavilion that acknowledges everything one tries to hide? And how long can a practical woman resist the pull of being genuinely seen? Next time on the Lady Ashbourne Chronicles, in which I discover that winning can feel remarkably like losing, featuring unexpected visitors, strategic manipulations, and the uncomfortable realization that some games are played on multiple levels.